Zapstring. It's our showtime.
Damn, what is that, bro?
Hello. Welcome to the YINLIN guide. Finally. So today I'm gonna tell you everything you need to know about YINLIN and her kit. So please do like, share, comment, and subscribe. And let's get into the video. So YINLIN over here is a sub-dps electro support, but her damage output is actually so good that you can use her as a main DPS as well, and it will work out just fine. So let's go through her kit first. These are her basic attacks: 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is her mid-air attack, which I do like, if I say so myself. And this is okay, that was a mistake, guys. That's not supposed to okay, this is her charge attack, and there is also a dodge counter, but the training dummies do not attack. So here is the insert clip. Yeah, that is a dodge counter. Good. All of these attacks generate judgment points. So what are judgment points? It's your forte circuit. So if you pay attention on my forte circuit, whenever I do the basic attacks, you can see it generates a little bit of my forte circuit. Same with the mid-air attack and with the heavy attack. And if you notice, the heavy attack actually generates a lot more than the basics and the mid-air. So keep that in mind, I guess. All of these attacks also put a mark on the enemy called the Sinner's Mark. This glowing thing is the Sinner's Mark, guys. This mark tells you which enemies are going to be hit by the follow-up attacks from her skill and her forte circuit. Her skill has 2 charges. The first charge is called the Magnetic Roar. This puts her in the execution mode, in which the Sinner's Mark is turned red, which means the follow-up attacks are enabled, and you can perform up to 4 basic attacks or dodge counters, which will have the follow-up attack attached to them. So let me just show you an example. I apply the Sinner's Mark, I do the Executioner's Roar. As you can see, the mark is red, which means I am in execution mode. All of my attacks will have follow-up attacks, up to 4 basic attacks or the dodge counter. These follow-ups cannot be performed by any other party member. These are only for YINLIN. This ability also generates a good amount of forte circuit, as you can see. The second charge of her skill is called Lightning Execution, which just deals damage, electro damage to be precise. This is the second part. This also generates forte circuit, but not as much as the first charge. As you can see, the first charge generates a lot more, the second charge meh amount. So our skill can be played into 2 styles. The first one, the preferred one by myself, is you do the E first, then you do the E again, and then you do your 4 basic attacks which have the follow-up. As you can see, the next attack won't have the follow-up because that is the limit. The second one is also viable, but I do not like it for reasons I will mention later. So the second one is you do the E first, then you do your 4 basics for your 4 follow-ups, and then you do E again to end it. So I prefer the first one because it just resets her cooldown timer a little bit earlier, but you still get the execution mode follow-up attack. So there is actually no reason to withhold her second charge of the E ability. And yeah, that is the reason. So let's get to the forte circuit. Her forte circuit is activated with a heavy attack. Once activated, lots of chains come down from the sky, dealing electro damage, and the Sinner's Mark is turned into the punishment mark. This mark will last for 18 seconds and will deal follow-up attacks anytime you damage the mark / the enemy. These follow-up attacks can be triggered even when YINLIN is not on field, which basically means any of the teammates can trigger these follow-up attacks. And that also goes for the echoes. If the echo damages the enemy who is marked with the punishment mark, it will deal a follow-up attack as well. So for example, I do the charge attack, lots of chains come down, damage, the mark is now turned into the punishment mark, and as you can see, there is follow-up attacks, and as you can see, there is follow-up attacks for my echo as well. Next is her ult. This has the highest multipliers in her kit and the most amount of physics in her kit. As you can see. Yeah, nice.
Nice.
So next are her passives. The first passive is 15% increase to crit rate for 5 seconds after using the first charge of her skill. And the final passive, the second passive, skill damage of lightning execution is increased by 10% while hitting enemies with Sinner's Mark, and attack is increased by 10 for 4 seconds. Both of these passives also support the double E basic attack 4 rotation of her skill, as you can get crit rate and attack for her skill in that window. Her supporting capabilities come from her outro skill, which gives the next character she switched into electro damage amplified for 20% and resonance liberation damage amplified for 25% for 14 seconds. This lasts for 14 seconds, as I said, or if you switch out of the character, it will go away as well. And the wording here is amplified. Damage amplified is the same as damage deepen. They just changed the wording. They still do mean the same thing. So let's get to the weapons. Her best in slot is obviously the String Master, which is a signature weapon. This weapon gives you a lot of crit rate on the main stat. This I think goes up to 36 or 30 on level 90. So yeah, a lot of crit rate. And her passive gives you 12% damage bonus after dealing damage with your resonance skill. Increases attack by 12%, stacks up to 2 times. This effect lasts for 5 seconds. When the equipped resonator is not on field, increase their attack by additionally 12%. So I've heard that this last part is actually stacked as well for the 2 stacks. That effectively gives you 48% attack. That's what I've heard. I don't know if that is true, but if it was not true, it's still her best in slot. So there is a lack of DPS rectifiers in the game, and this is the only other 5-star rectifier in the game, and it is actually a good stat stick, but the passive is kind of meh. The energy recharge is nice. The basic attack damage we do not need, but this overall is a good stat stick. The third option is the augment from the battle pass. This is also a good stat stick and is comparable to the cosmic ripples because of the crit rate main stat. I think this is the only other rectifier with crit rate main stat, and the passive helps you if you have good resonance liberation uptime. Other than that, it is just comparable because it has crit rate main stat. So if you do not have any of the above, use the Jinzo Keeper. It has attack main stat and its passive gives you attack and HP, which is you can use the attack. You can always use the attack. If you do not have anything, you can use Rectifier of Night. It has a similar passive to Jinzo Keeper but is a 3-star weapon, so overall less stats. And if you do not have that as well, use the Guardian Rectifier, which has attack main stat but the passive is not really that good. So for the Echo sets, there are 2 main sets you can use on her, which is the Void Thunder set and the Moonlit Cloud set. So the Moonlit Cloud set is a pure support set and it will help with energy regen and it will give attack to the next resonator as well. So if you are planning to build your YINLIN purely for support, you can use this set. But I would still recommend you run the Void Thunder set, as the damage she adds to the team is so much that it just outperforms the Moonlit Clouds in general. For the 4 set Echo, there are 2 major options. You can either use the Thundering Mephis or the Tempest Mephis. So I would just recommend the Tempest Mephis over the Thundering Mephis because the Thundering Mephis takes a lot of on-field time to activate its passive. Because its passive actually activates on the final hit of its combo and not the first hit. And the passives are also very similar. Both give electro damage and both last for the same time. And the only difference is that the Thundering Mephis gives liberation damage instead of the heavy attack that the Tempest Mephis gives. So if you do not need the liberation damage buff, you can just use the Tempest Mephis and you will still get the electro damage bonus. And it has a very short animation which can be swap cancelled as well. But at the end of the day, you can use whatever you want. For the 4 cost main stat, if you have the String Master and the Augment, you can use a crit damage main stat. But if you do not have a String Master or an Augment, I would highly recommend a crit rate because the game is just very scarce with the crit rate stats. So if you have the String Master Augment, then sure, go for the crit damage. If you do not have the String Master and Augment, do not go for crit damage, go for crit rate. For the main stat of the other Echoes, you can get 2 3 cost echoes of electro damage and 2 1 cost echoes of attack percent main stat. That is the best main stats, but I know there has been a big controversy in the community over 4-3-3-1-1 setup and 4-4-1-1-1 setup, which is, in my opinion, if you have the 4-3-3-1-1 set, obviously use your 4-3-3-1-1 set. But if you do not have the 4-3-3-1-1 set, the other alternative to look for is not 4-4-1-1-1 in my opinion. You just need to look at 4-3-3-1-1, but instead of electro damage, you can switch one of the echoes out for attack, or even both of the echoes out for attack, and that I think will be viable as well for farming purposes. Obviously the best one is 4-3-3-1-1 with 2 electro damage 3 cost and 2 attack percent 1 cost. But if you do not have either of those, you can still use 4-4-1-1-1, in which you do crit damage, crit rate 4 costs, and the rest 1 cost are attack percent. So if that sounded very confusing to you, let me simplify it. If you have 4-3-3-1-1 setup with both of your 3 costs having electro damage, go for it. But if you do not have that, look for a 4-3-3-1-1 set which has attack percent and electro damage on your 3 costs, or both attack percent. Or if you do not want to do that, you can use 4-4-1-1-1 as well, where you will get crit rate and crit damage to 4 costs and 3 1 cost attack percent. This will obviously not be as good as the 4-3-3-1-1 on set, but it is still viable to farm if you do not have the set yet. So for the substat priorities, I would say crit rate and crit damage, whichever you need of more is obviously more important. Then energy recharge, then attack, and resonance skill damage is also good because most of our follow-ups are considered skill damage, so yeah, that is good too. Liberation damage is okay as well. So for the team comps, you can use her anywhere you need a sub-dps or a liberation damage support, but her best in slot teams will be electro DPS focused. So something like this will probably be her best support / sub DPS team. But if you want to use her with any other DPS as a sub DPS and a liberation damage support, you can definitely do that as well. But what if you want to use YINLIN as a main DPS? So for that, in my opinion, I have 2 teams which are best in slot for YINLIN. First one is this Tauchi Verina YINLIN team. So Verina provides a team-wide buff which will last for 30 seconds, and Tauchi also buffs resonance skill damage. And resonance skill is where most of YINLIN's damage comes from, so that is really nice. But if you don't want to use Tauchi, you can use Baiji. Verina is her best in slot, so she cannot be replaced. Verina and Baiji do have similar type of buffs, so just doubling up on buffs can be good as well. So in this case, the rotation will be Verina outro skill, Baiji outro skill, and then YINLIN, and then she will get both of their buffs. And on the Tauchi team, it is similar. It is Verina outro, Tauchi outro, and then YINLIN, and it will work out just fine. So that is it for the team comps. So all of that out of the way, let's talk about the resonance chain. Her chain 1, C1, is resonance skill, magnetic roar, and lightning execution deal 70% more damage. This is just overall more damage for her skill. Then her C2 is resonance skill, electromagnetic blast, recovers an additional 5 judgment points and 5 resonance energy on hit. So what this means is her skill follow-ups will generate more forte and more energy, which is still solid. Her C3 is forte judgment strikes, damage multiplier is increased, which is really good. These are her forte follow-up attacks, which can be done through other party members as well. So having their damage multipliers increased is really nice. This is all whale shit, guys. Us normal people cannot do this shit. Her C4 is when Forte Circuit Judgment Strikes hits a target, the attack of all party members is increased by 20% for 12 seconds. This is just an overall buff. I believe she also gets this 20%, which is nice. This just makes her a better sub DPS and a support. Both of these I think are really good. The C3 and C4 together are really nice. Her C4 is a Resonance Liberation. Thundering Wrath deals 100% extra damage to targets with Forte Circuit, Sinner's Mark, or Punishment Mark. So, which basically means whoever has the mark on them, either the sinners or the punishments, will get extra 100% of the liberations damage. That is all good, but the C6 is where the most damage lies. This just gives her Ooga Booga damage, by the way. In the first 30 seconds after casting the Resonance Liberation Thundering Wrath, when YINLIN's basic attack hits a target, Furious Thunder will be triggered. This Furious Thunder is just another follow-up attack, which will deal electro damage equal to 419.59% of YINLIN's attack. Every basic attack hit can trigger Furious Thunder one time, up to 4 times. So she gets 4 charges of this, and this is considered resonance skill damage. So this is just that multiplier, you just get it 4 times to proc. For context, the outro skills of Kilcharo and Ling Yang have a similar or a little bit higher multipliers than them. As you can see, you add that obviously, and as you can see, Ling Yang's and these abilities do a lot of damage. So her having 4 of those will just do crazy amount of damage. So yeah, this is it for the guide. If you find this guide helpful, please do like, share, comment and subscribe, as it will help my channel out a lot. And see you in the next one. Bye.